Hey guys, Dylan here with another video. So today we're going to be looking at the Starlancer Tac, but also the game, Star Citizen. Where it's going, where it's come from, where we've been, and how the Starlancer Tac really is, without lack of a better term, a sign of the times. And you might be thinking, hey, what do you mean by that, Demo? Well, I mean, Starlancer Tac pretty much resembles the direction Star Citizen is going in right now. It has all the features and all the bells and whistles you would expect of a ship of its size, however, with a little bit more, a little bit extra, but it's all geared mainly towards combat, if I'm honest. And this seems to be the direction Star Citizen's going. If you remember in the early days, we had things like exploration planned and other game modes such as passenger transport, the Endeavor with the farms, and Hadron Colliders, and all that cool stuff. However, the verse, for at least the release of the game, shrank from hundreds and hundreds of planets to quite literally 5 star systems. But we'll get to that in a minute. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can be pretty disheartening for a lot of the people who have, want that exploration dynamic. The Starlancer Tac has things you'd expect of a CIG game. Tons of minute details, blast doors on the inside rather than the outside, and screens in places that make little to no sense when you're in combat, such as the power management screen, which is impossible to look at when you're in a fight in a hurry without taking your eyes completely off what's in front of you. Which makes sense in a multi-crew ship, I guess. You have your teammates and stuff. They can manage the systems for you while you're flying the ship. That's kind of the way I guess it's supposed to be. But as a solo player, that can prove to be a real pain in the ass. Where the TAC excels, surprisingly, is basically bullying smaller ships. That's against NPCs, that is, and I'm guessing perhaps the odd inexperienced player. But what this ship is designed to do is, more or less, is be sort of like a patrol boat. You'd have your snub fighter in the hangar or whatever. You deploy that and you then engage the hostiles. But it feels more to me like a ground support ship. But as a solo player, if you're looking for something to get through missions with, where there's plenty of medium fighters or light fighters, all the way up to like medium or large ships, I feel like the TAC has got your back. That's where it really does shine. With a full complement of crew, however, its lethality only increases. It can look after itself, put it that way, against multiple hostile threats at the same time. And don't let it being a misc ship fool you. It's actually a bit of a tank. It can take an absolute beating once the shields drop. However, be sure to have plenty of fuses handy, because this thing loves to blow its fuses. So when a fuse pops, more or less, in this ship, you're guaranteed to lose some very important functionality, such as your engines, or perhaps your quantum drive, or worst case scenario, your shields in the middle of combat. However, just like something out of MacGyver, you can easily solve this problem by running downstairs to the engineering area, grabbing a redundant fuse perhaps, and just cramming it in where your fuse has popped. But, that's kind of the way it's going to go for all the ships. The TAC is just ahead of the curve in this regard. And I like the direction Star Citizen's going with this level of engineering. They've been talking about fuses and components now for quite a long time. And we're actually seeing it, come, that the fruits of that labor start to be delivered to the verse. Now, the TAC represents something very interesting. The TAC itself is basically designed for the PU from the ground up. We're not just getting the offcuts or the leftovers of Squadron 42. We're not getting essentially the campaign ships modified for use in the persistent universe, like the Idris or the Idris and everything else that's more or less come before it. So the TAC really marks a interesting time in Star Citizen's lifespan. Like, we're getting something fresh. It's not something reused from story mode. It's designed for the PU from the ground up, and I love that. It's got everything where it needs to be. It's got jump seats, it's got a medical bay, it's got everything that a group of players or even a solo player would really want in their large ship, something of this size, so they can take on ground missions or perhaps to do space combat. Now, the TAC is unique in the regard where it's able to take on things like the beloved Corsair, everyone's basically sweetheart in the PU. It can take on a Corsair quite comfortably. If both ships are fully outfitted with gunners and turrets, the TAC is going to chew the Corsair a new backside, put it that way. And the Corsair is sort of like more, I would say, in the realm of competition with something like a Constellation. The TAC kind of sits more like what the Freelancer wishes it was. It's like a roided up, like real beefcake of a ship. And I love it. Personally, I think it's great. It marks a fundamental moment in Star Citizen's shift away from Squadron 42 towards the game that essentially we all backed. Now, I know a lot of people supported Squadron 42, but let's be honest, those ship sales are more or less for Star Citizen, you know what I mean? And that's where we wanted them ready to go. Now, the fruits of those labors are finally coming out, as we can see, with the next patch being 4.2 with Giant Worm and all that good stuff. It really is, though, a sign of the times, this ship. And for me personally, I'd say there's no better time than now to get into Star Citizen. I backed the project many years ago now, I believe a decade ago now, which is pretty scary if you actually think about it. Time flies. But one thing I will say about the TAC is you're not going to be soloing any capital ships. Like, if someone's in a Perseus that's eventually going to be coming out, or the in-game Polaris or Idris, you're gonna need to run pretty quick. It's not designed to take on those kinds of ships. Not at all. So, the TAC fills a unique role. Me personally, I think it sits right in that Goldilocks zone of being the perfect home away from home for any solo player, but also that organization, multi-crew ship, or maybe just you and a couple of friends. So the TAC comes alive when you have more than one person, that's a fact. It's got a missile turret in the rear, it's got many man turrets, like it's got 2, I believe, man turrets and 2 remote turrets, but obviously you're going to need dudes to man those. Now, in the future, remote turrets will be able to be controlled by a blade, so think of it more like almost like a point defense weapon. You know, you can have them programmable, which is cool. But the TAC as it sits right now fills a really, really, really interesting spot. It's sort of like a dropship that can also drop off the vehicle and then provide close air to ground support and a fighter. It's sort of like a jack of all trades, you could say. For a solo player, would I recommend this to you? As of right now, as it sits now, I'd say yeah, it's in a really good spot. Highly recommend it. It's perfect if you just want a base to do bunker missions from. Perhaps, like, you know, stuff is too risky to fly it down to, so you deploy the snub fighter, and then you go down with that thing, you know what I mean? You leave this floating in orbit, and then you go back to it once you're done with your ground mission. Or you land far away, deploy a little car or something like a Greek at MTC or a Cyclone, and you drive in. Totally down to you. As a group, if you're maybe, you know, you and some buddies want a multi-crew ship, this thing is perfect. Like, the medbed alone with its 2 stations is a game changer. 2 of you can die at the same time and spawn at the same time. It's got storage lockers exactly where you'd want them to be. It's got a gun, like an armory on board as well, which can hold a missile launcher and a railgun, which is huge if you think about it. Like, there's so much stuff that this ship has been future-proofed for. As an organization, though, however, would I recommend this ship to you? And me personally, I would say if you are an org leader, or you're, like, say, some high commanding level of in an org, I'd say you'd be insane not to want to have one of these, because it fills that role of patrol boat really nicely. It's got everything that you'd want in a ship of its size for, let's say, your organization patrol mission. Say your org is patrolling your patch of space, right? Let's say you guys have, it's the future and you've built maybe a refining station. And you just need a ship that patrols around the area every once in a while. Maybe it bounces around between planets or moons or whatever. This is the ship you'd want. It's got a huge gas tank, right? It's got enough fuel to get you around the verse. It's got, like I said, space for a snub fighter. Now, the snub fighter space is interesting to me because it's that brand synergy that that they said they were going to be implementing. So this thing fits the Mirai ships, basically, those particular snub fighters. It can hold most of the small-ish ground vehicles. Now, the Grey Cat MTC does not fit if the gun is deployed. You have to retract the weapon in order to get it to fit. If you don't, it's going to get stuck, and it's not a good time. But for what it is, a ship that has essentially what I would call a dominating air-to-ground presence. Like this, the side guns have a absolutely horrendous field of fire if you're trying to shoot something either above or in front of the ship. It's just not going to happen. They are, in my opinion, meant for ground targets. They're meant for knocking out anti-air turrets. Because, like I said, this ship's a tank. It can take the punishment. It can take the beatings. It can take the punishment that the ground turrets might put out. But if you have some decent gunners, it'll pop those turrets before they kill you. And then it has the jump seats that I absolutely adore. You've got the door-mounted guns reminiscent of the Valkyrie or the old Huey helicopters from Nam. You got that. So when you're deploying your troops, you can hose down anyone that's behind cover. This is a remarkable PvP ship. If you can fully crew it and then have enough people left over to man the jump seats, let's say you're going down to an OLP. You deploy your guns, your side door gun. You open the door, your Marines are in their jump seats, and then you arrive to an OLP and there's an enemy org down there, or even just maybe a small group of players, and they're in cover. You can hose down the cover while you have someone in essentially a dual size 5 weapon blasting away at them as you deploy your troops. Like, this thing is a monster in that regard. It's going to eat ground vehicles that are on the surface. It's fast maneuverable. It mounts tons of missile launchers. It has rear-facing missile remote turrets, so you can blow up the tanks as you basically fly over them from behind. And yeah, no, it's pretty great. In my opinion, if you aren't a fan of bombers or dropping bombs, to clear an area, this is your best bet. This is what you want. You don't want to send in something like an Idris or a Polaris to clear an area. It's just overkill, and it puts that asset at risk. Because as we know right now, bombs in Atmo are every capital ship's worst nightmare. You don't want to run into a situation where, like, you have triple bomb rack Gladius come over and nuke your Polaris because you're in Atmo. You send something like this in that can see those fighters coming, and with everyone on the turrets can potentially kill them effectively and quickly. As for loadouts, I'd recommend switching to repeaters pretty much for everything, apart from the 2 side man turrets. You can do with those whatever you want, really, because it's mainly for ground targets. But as the game stands right now, just stick to repeaters, sadly. I'm more of a ballistic cannon man myself, but with the way the game is, it's not worth it. You're best off just sticking to repeaters. They've got the fastest projectile speed, pretty much. And, they do decent damage. Cannons and stuff will do amazing damage as a ballistic, but when shields are up, they're pretty pointless, if you ask me. In the future, this will change. We're going to get armor and stuff and all that good stuff. But as of right now, just swap on some repeaters. Immediately get rid of the damn laser cannons that are pilot controlled, because they are trash. You're best off just switching to repeaters. It's got the capacitors for it too. It'll hose down a target and drop its shields with how big the capacitors are, as long as you put power to weapons. The ship maneuvers beautifully for a ship of its size. Now, in the next patch, they're going to be increasing its movement speed just a little bit in atmosphere, because as of the current patch, it's an absolute pig in Atmo. It is. Like, I mean, I love it. It's maneuverable. It's quick enough, for me at least, but it's going to be getting a little quicker. But in Atmo, it does its job effectively. On moons, it's as happy as can be. In low gravity, it loves it. You know what I mean? The only real problem you're going to have is, on a moon that's got a really dense surface, is finding a parking space. Just finding somewhere you can put it down with, without having to lose the rear ramp, essentially, you know, because that's another problem we have right now. But this ship, in my humble opinion, is the one out of all the new ships that have come out with the Invictus. I would say if you're looking for a ship to buy before it's too late, get the Tac, you know, or wait maybe later and get it in game. But if you're an org leader and you plan on getting some ships in before the game goes live, to help give them that LTI and put them in the fleet hangar, just so you can say, right guys, we can focus our efforts on other things. These ships are in the hangar, we don't have to grind them up in game. I would say the Tac is one to add to your toolbox, to your list, immediately before it's too late. It's an absolutely, like, absolute gem of a ship. And it's a good thing, because this, hopefully, to me at least, is a sign of the times. Things can only get better if CIG stay on this course. You know, I don't mind the goofy blast shields, you know, that are on the inside rather than the outside. I don't mind things like that. I don't mind even having the control interface being out of the pilot's periphery when in combat. I get it. Maybe it's just less clutter, you know, for the pilot to concentrate on and have him really dial in on the threat in front of him, because it's a multi-crew ship at the end of the day. It's got fire extinguishers in places that make sense. I can only assume they make sense once fire is added. There's a lot of things that I do have questions about, though. And one of the big ones is, when fire is in the game, you're going to need to fight a fire to get to engineering. And if fire moves quick enough, what happens if you are essentially behind the fire as it makes its way towards engineering, and you have no other way of getting there, because engineering has only got one way in on this ship in particular. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I believe, yeah, you know, it makes sense. You know, CIG haven't just, you know, done everything without necessarily thinking it through. In some cases, they've made some poor choices. I will be honest. You know, let's have it real here. They have made some bad choices in the past, but where we're at now is a very positive space. So overall, would I recommend this ship to you? Yeah, of course. I mean, if you're looking for a ship and you don't mind putting some cash into the game, or maybe you got store credit like I did, grab one. Or if you're an org leader, do what I did, get two. They are extremely useful and will be ubiquitous in the future, and it's a good ship, and this is what I mean from an organization perspective. It's a good throwaway ship, and what I mean by that is, it's a ship that you have in the fleet hangar that you can put some org mates into who maybe are familiar with flying, familiar with turret gunning, but they're not quite adept yet. They still have a little ways to go. Put them in this. Perfect base for them to learn in. It's got tons of health. It's got loads of like shields and armor and all that good stuff for what it is, and it'll help them learn the ropes of the game. So if you want a good starter ship for your org mates, this is what I recommend personally. As a solo player and you want something you can grow into as you make friends and maybe build up your little posse or your group, or maybe you want to join another group and have something that, you know, you could say, hey, I've got this multi-crew ship in case they don't have any. This is the perfect ship for you. Now, as a Star Citizen backer, you don't need to have a ship like this. You really don't. It doesn't make things easier? Yeah, of course it does. I mean, you'd be insane to think it doesn't. But all you really need to play Star Citizen, in my humble opinion, is a starter ship and determination to get through that steep learning curve, and the will to work with others, because Star Citizen is not a solo player experience. And I know there's a lot of people that are mad about that right now because the consensus seems to have shifted away from the idea of this being like, well, gaming with other people. People seem to be becoming more isolationist in their mentality to gaming, and I get it. You know what I mean? Things have changed over the last few years with the whole disaster of the pandemic, and lockdown, and all that madness. But when it comes to Star Citizen, I'd say, you know, give multi-crew a chance. Meet some new people. Make some new friends. Hell, I mean, I met people through making this YouTube channel for this game and through playing this game that I've now known for a decade. Let that sink in, and we still play together. Like, it's crazy. Like Damodar and people like that. Like Gluestick, I've known for well over a decade. Machine, I've known for a decade now. People like this, I've played this game with for a long time. And yeah, I'll be honest, you do make lifelong friends. My organization is full of people that I've known for years now. And I would have never met them if it wasn't for this glorious game. And all the promise that they made back in the day, and seeing it actually happen in front of us is huge. Now, I mentioned earlier we're getting 5-star systems, and I would be an absolute tease if I didn't say what they were, if you didn't know this already. So we're getting Nyx, Castra, Pyro we already have, and we already have Stanton, but we're also getting Terra. Those are the 5-star systems that Star Citizen will release with for 1.0, so bear that in mind. And if you want a good ship to explore all these places, get yourself a Tac. You won't regret it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Little bit of a ramble there towards the end, and, wouldn't be one of my videos if it weren't. And I just want to make sure I covered all the bases here, because the one thing that Star Citizen has that cannot be ignored is the social contract. And what I mean by that is, yes, big organizations are going to go to areas that are PvP zones, such as obviously the new 4.2 activity and the OLP areas, and lock it down. And it would be stupid if they didn't, because it's a multi-crew game. You can't fly an Idris on your own. Don't be that guy, Go out there, meet new people. Yeah, you're going to meet some people which are, without lack of a better term, absolutely awful. Because let's be real here, we're talking about the human race. But you're going to meet some people that are really cool, spectacular people. People that you will one day, perhaps, might just invite to your wedding. Or people that you will know long after Star Citizen finally shuts their servers down. Hopefully that's not for at least another 20 to 30 years. But when that day eventually comes, like, Star Citizen gives you the kind of people that you can know since forever. Like, there are people that join my organization that were single and are now married with kids. Let that sink in. Time moves awfully quick. And in a game like Star Citizen, it gives you a way to enjoy that time all the more with them. Gives you a chance to have some fun, make some lifelong friends, and make some sci-fi memories that we unfortunately cannot make in the real world right now. But if you want that Star Trek or that Firefly experience, this game is exactly, what'll do it for you, if that makes sense. So yeah, thank you guys yet again for watching, and maybe you're thinking of joining a group. If you're a lawful player, and you're a bounty hunter, or maybe you're a trader, or a salvage guy, or you're into mining, anything like that, and you're looking to join a group, check out my organization. You won't regret it. Full of really nice individuals. We're just looking for other people who are into that team building experience and having fun. We're more than happy to teach you the ropes of the game if necessary, and teach you certain dynamics of the game you may have missed. And we have some real experts in the org on certain things. Like, Machine is an absolute wizard when it comes to missiles. He'll help you outfit your ship so your missiles hit 60% of the time, all the time. But yeah, we have some absolute experts who are willing to share their knowledge. We have PvP specialists. We got people who know trading, mining, salvage, all this groovy stuff. And they're willing to share their information with you. All you have to do is be willing, open-minded to play the game with other people, sorry, and be open to having a good time and kicking some pirate ass, because that's what we do. We're here to get rid of the griefers and to take down the unlawful players and restore the UEE to its former glory. That's kind of our whole spiel. And yeah, like the org does have some light to heavy RP elements to it, you know what I mean? When we're doing certain missions, sometimes the guys like to really get into it, and other times we might be keeping it casual. So yeah, if you're interested in that, maybe you have a TAC, or maybe you don't have a TAC and you'd be interested in multi-crewing one and joining one, check out the organization. You'll find some people to play the game with in no time, and yeah, you'll have a good time. So thank you again for watching, guys, and thank you to all the subscribers who have stayed with me for all the years. Oh my lord, how the time is flowing. And I know I've been inactive on YouTube for quite some time. I think I spent 7 to 8 years. I think it was 7 years, or maybe 6. I don't know. Around that amount of time away, because life for me got busy, is the best way to put it. And I had some immediate things I needed to take care of. And yeah, things turned around. So I'm pretty pleased about that. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you're new here. Leave a like. Comment. Always comment, guys. And it's not just for the algorithm. It's because I love talking to you guys. I really enjoy having a dialogue. I want to know your thoughts on the TAC. Tell me what you like about it. Tell me what you hate about it. Tell me what you think of Star Citizen. Are you happy, or are you sad, or are you just plain mad? Tell me everything. I'd love to have a dialogue. Alright, so I'll catch you guys later. Remember, citizens, fly safe. Oh, and before I say anything else, remember, the organization's information is the Death Corps Strike Unit. You'll find a link to it in the description below. But as I was about to say, fly safe, citizen, and I'll see you in the verse.